702.
The Big Interview
With Bongani Bingwa.
It's 20 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the issue we're dealing with today. Yes, Operation Dudula is taking the law into their hands. But do they have a point about our hospitals and our clinics? And why is it that often nurses and even police officers turn a blind eye? Has Operation Dudula become a convenient tool either to detract from the anger many South Africans are feeling, but also because they do what the government cannot? And what will happen when it all explodes? We've invited two special guests to help us wade through this issue. We've got Professor Loren Landau, who's a professor of migration and development at the University of the Witwatersrand. Also, of course, part of the Center for Migration and Society. And then, of course, we've got an immigration lawyer at Rousseau's Attorneys, Ashraf Essop. Both of them joining us. And I'm going to have you both speak to us at the same time, so it won't be one after the other, as it were, as we try and deal with this. Professor Landau, let me start with you. For the average South African who may not know, what does the law actually say about foreign nationals and who has a right to access healthcare here in South Africa?
The law is based on a principle that we are all healthier if everyone around us gets access to healthcare. It's very clear. If it's emergency care, life-saving care, everyone gets it. There can be no questions asked. When it comes to immigrants, you're entitled to care if you're here with documents. You have to pay more. If you're an asylum seeker and a refugee, you shouldn't have to pay more. And let's be clear also that the numbers of foreigners are not the reason that we're getting problems accessing healthcare.
We've heard from the Department of Health they don't keep any statistics around how many foreign nationals are accessing our hospitals and clinics. And so without anyone keeping track of that data, how do we really know?
Well, they're meant to keep records because you have to have some kind of identification when you're seeking medical assistance or any assistance. So it's not like an anonymous person is being attended to. Again, it's administratively heavy to ask records to be kept for years. But certainly in the short term, they should be having records as to who they're servicing.
That's what I'm saying, because part of what we've heard, thank you for coming in there, Ashraf Essop. I was actually directing that question to Professor Landau, because, Prof, you are saying that it's not the foreign nationals who are overburdening our system. But my question is, if we don't have any data on the countries of origin of the people the system helps, how do we know? Prof?
Right. I think, if I can just jump in, I think what's clear is if we look at the percentage of foreigners in the country, it's only about 3-4%. If we look at the number of asylum seekers and refugees, which has been the target in the recent weeks, they are 5 per 1,000 in the country. So if we're looking at a system that is burdened, just statistically, these people would have to be seeking healthcare all the time in order to be undermining the system. So yes, they may seek more than others, probably not, because they face all of these obstacles, but we don't even need the statistics from the healthcare system to know that the vast majority of people seeking healthcare and the vast majority of people struggling to seek healthcare are South Africans.
Ashraf Essop, let me now bring you into this. I want you to explain to me what happens in the process of asylum seeking and why it is possible then that somebody without documents, while still waiting for the outcomes of that process, may then be entitled to accessing healthcare. So
there's two issues. The one is when you enter South Africa, you're meant to enter from a port of entry, and you'll be issued with an asylum-seeking permit or visa for you to make yourself available to the nearest refugee reception office. That would be in Gauteng, will be at Marabastad. So that's how it's supposed to operate. Then you make the application, and you may get an initial 3-month permit, and you'll then await the renewal of that. It should be possible to renew online, and then it should be possible for you to get your documentation back. Now, that's the ideal state. When that doesn't happen, then you find yourself either unable to make the initial application or unable to find a suitable slot or one appointed to you to do a renewal. Now, the Department of Home Affairs, the refugees reception officers in Marabastad only cater for 50 people sometimes on a day, and it's divided between different nations. So Monday could serve Pakistanis, Tuesday DRC, etc. We don't know yet. So you could see from what I'm saying, there's the ideal situation and then there's the practical situation. So the fact that you in the Republic on an expired asylum-seeking permit doesn't necessarily make you illegal. Yes, technically you are, but you should be able to be accommodated if you can prove that you've made the application, you've made the online application for renewal, and it hasn't come out yet. But that shouldn't be a barrier for you accessing any kind of assistance, be it healthcare, education, water.
All right, Professor Landau, notwithstanding what we've just heard there from Ashraf Essop, an overburdened system to grant asylum seekers the documents they need to begin with. This is quite apart from actually verifying what the applicants are claiming in those applications. And so caught in that, shall we call it a state of limbo then, many of these foreign nationals are, as you pointed out, entitled to the same health benefits as citizens. So they don't pay for HIV or TB treatments. And more importantly, South Africans will watch that many of them don't face, for example, the same means tests that many of us must pass to contribute. And even if they charged anything, we've heard from the Department of Health, they've got no mechanism to enforce that those amounts are indeed paid. Many South Africans who go to these facilities and are told there are no appointments available, no medicines available, feel resentful. Are they wrong? Prof, we're losing you there. So let's just try there again. Professor Landau, we're losing you there. Let's try again. Go ahead. Prof. Landau? Well, I'm not sure what's going on with our connection. Ashraf, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I mean, maybe let me pose that question to you then, because we seem to have lost the professor. Many South Africans will look at the scenarios that I've just outlined and they'll feel aggrieved.
Yes, we must understand that that is a boiling point. It is a point of contention. It is a point of competition for resources, for competition for income, and then the ability to access the state. So anyone will feel resentful. I mean, even if you in the supermarket queue and somebody else comes to jump the queue, you as an ordinary person will feel enraged. So these are all normal reactions and human reactions. But the problem is not with the people accessing it. The problem is a dysfunctional department of Home Affairs, as a dysfunctional Department of Health. So everyone could and can access it equally. But even if you remove every single foreigner from the country, does that mean we'll be just able to walk into any clinic? It's well stocked, it's well run, there's personnel there. Is that the view that we're competing against? And I fear that it wouldn't be so easy, even if you remove all of the problems, because we have very, very deep-rooted problems in our various departments.
So
that has to be sorted out.
You may have a view on this, but I'll ask you, is that why, in a sense, Operation Dudula is almost convenient? Because the anger of the people isn't being directed at the failures you've just pointed out. It's being directed at foreign nationals. And most of the time, when these groups take the law into their own hands, they get away with it either because police officers are looking the other way, and we've even heard of allegations where healthcare workers might be complicit.
When any person or any society takes the law into their own hands, then it breaks down the respect for the law and the rule of law. Because we've suffered for almost 300 years here at the point of where people had taken the law and humanity into their own hands and exploited it. So there's a real danger there. Whatever Operation Dudula's intentions, etc., I'm unable to comment on that. But certainly, I'm one that says and insists that we have to follow the law. And if anyone is complicit in this, well, they should be charged with it as well. Most people have cameras, and if there are police personnel or somebody else that's aiding and assisting in the breaking of the law, then there are channels to follow to have that investigated and finalized.
All right, appreciate your time. Ashraf Essop, their immigration lawyer. We also had Professor Loren Landau from Wits University. And my final comment on this is simply that if these groups are allowed to take the law into their own hands, however justified their frustrations may feel to them, and increasingly as this thing spreads, it does appear to me that we're not acting with enough decisiveness on this issue. What happens when they start going into people's homes, into schools, demanding identification, dragging people out of their places of work? What happens if they want them out of entire neighborhoods? What happens when this thing explodes? And who is to say that others won't see this and think, well, if they got away with that, we'll get away with this. Think Zama-Zamas and think of other areas of lawlessness in South Africa.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.